Acting as if there is no tomorrow, I am back, and welcome back, my friends who keep on tuning in. True friends across the internet airwaves. Artist Journal, January 15th, 2025. Broadcasting from somewhere above the clouds on the pirate ship of the mind. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. And it begins, guess who? I think it's the first time that Texadelic has started the show, so thrilled to have that. And I thought it was just such a cool, I think it's an experiment because it comes from a series called Experiments, and it's actually on Rodeo, and I'll get into that in a second, but it comes from Odds and Ends, an open edition collection of odds and ends. So interesting experiment, I think we could call it, from Texadelic. I mean, of course, what does it remind you of? I suppose we might say obliquely is Zigmar Polka. And I brought up some Zigmar Polka. We're kind of back to coloring outside the lines. And really, what excites me about this work is it feels like Texadelic or Acid Reindeer. And we'll get into this little Acid Reindeer up here in a second. It feels like they stumbled onto a process. And this is something, again, that kind of really shouted out to me. Because this is, put it this way, I call what Polka does, and we're going to look in a second, where let's say you put some abstract on the first layer and then you put something representational on the second layer that basically has nothing to do with the abstraction underneath. I call that instant poetry over here. It's a technique that I'd say only discovered, say, 10 years ago when I first started kind of really learning about Zigmar Polka and everything. But you see, it's a poetic technique which I would argue what's kind of cool about it is it's very modern. It's about the process. And let me just quickly bring up some polka here for you. As you see here, to give you put some flesh on the bone here, and then we'll get back to Texadelic. You see abstraction here, and then outline that basically has nothing to do with what's going on underneath. And so what's cool about this, and done with a projector, by the way, importantly, I believe, here's another one. Let me just get this here. Another brilliant work here. As you see, and there's a few things going on in this work, of course. But as you see, it's about the process. You don't need to necessarily, it's not about the virtuoso brushstroke, let's say, of Rembrandt or of Raphael the master coming in at the end after the assistants have done all their work and then doing the kind of killer, rendition at the end. So it's more about the process. In a sense, it removes this need for this kind of like virtuoso talent, and it's more actually conceptual, one could argue. It's, and we see it with Warhol as well. This kind of randomness on one layer, and then over top you get like a defined, outline. And the outline, importantly, doesn't need to have anything to do or doesn't need to match up, in the case of Warhol, with the colors underneath. And almost it's like, if it doesn't, it's better. We don't want it to match up perfectly. We're kind of back to coloring outside the lines, which brings us back to Texadelic. Right? Because this is actually something I've experimented with, in different ways. And it's like, okay, what kind of randomness can you get underneath? And then putting the outline and then, which you blind yourself and then putting an outline over top. Right? So what's kind of interesting. So here in this Odds and Ends series, Texadelic has, I think under the guise of Acid Reindeer, which you see up here, has basically, it looks like they've done some coloring or maybe taken the original image and processed it and maybe dislodged it a little bit from the original kind of outline, right? Because it seems like we see the head here is over here, the head is maybe there, this is a little higher, right? The feet are here, but the outline is down there. But again, it's kind of back to instant poetry. This jumped out at me. And so, interestingly, it was put on Rodeo as the promotional. As you see here, Communicate, great title, put on Rodeo as the Acid Reindeer sticker in the upper right-hand corner represents a promotional version of this work. The non-promotional version is available for 24 hours in the Open Tez event, interestingly. So 9 minted here. And then if we go here, now there is an issue though. In a weird way, I kind of like the rodeo version better, and let me show you why. Because there's actually a difference. There's no halo here, which I kind of like, whereas in the object version, you'll notice there's a bit of a halo here. It's a different render, right? And so so it kind of, it's almost like one too many steps, and almost looks like, is that AI pixels? It's kind of hard to say. Or there's something going on here. Maybe it's a 3D effect on the pixels. So this kind of flatter work, I'd argue, kind of gets more to where you're trying to go, I would argue. Maybe Acid Reindeer feels differently. And you also start to think in this regard, physicals. Also, the physicals not that crazy to think about. You could even do inkjet for the pixels, and then you could screen print the black over top, for example. I mean, one of many, many ways you could tackle this. You could also just do ink over top of, pixels. So all to say, super interesting work here. 16 minted so far on Tez, on Object, and again, part of this kind of experimental series here with different kinds of experiments here. This is pretty cool too here, interestingly. Seeming to maybe juxtapose two different kinds of mark making here. Interesting work, kind of not dissimilar, but a little bit more inside the lines. And it kind of makes you wonder, what would this look like outside the lines? So just kind of interesting from Acid Reindeer, also known as Texadelic. And so here's Polka, as we see here, coloring outside the lines. Very, very interesting artist here. See if we can find any others. And so I'm actually restarting this show. I don't know if I mentioned that. I got an error, encoding error, about 3/4 the way through last show. So I'm kind of running through this. It was probably, let's just continue here. Yeah, here's another example, right? Slightly, but you see underneath there's kind of a wash. Would also use bed sheets sometimes as canvas to stretch on canvas. And then just use that and then put whatever randomly goes over top, right? So interesting here, kind of a, almost an abstract underneath, and then putting this like 18th century woodcut over top, even filling it in a bit over here, it looks like, very interestingly. So incredibly poetic work from both Texadelic and here Zigmar Polka. Again, instant poetry. If you're new to art and you're just trying to want to do some experiments, do something random and then put some outlines over top that don't match the edges, and you will get surprisingly poetic work. Even this, I'd say it's not Zigmar Polk's best work, but it's still... And what's interesting, finally, on this, if you actually, for those who have done this, and if you haven't done it, what's interesting is the abstract underneath that you're just kind of making marks on doesn't even necessarily have to look good. We're kind of back to this Rembrandt thing. You don't need that virtuoso thing. It can be, I have some, let me see. I have some physicals that I did. I wonder if they're not here. They may, here it is, right? So here, you see the paint is put underneath and then I inkjet over top. Right? And so it's not, what's interesting about the phenomena is this paint underneath, like if you just put it on a piece of paper, it would look like as amateur could be. But once you put on the form over top or the outline or get that contrast, starts to look poetic. Starts to look like, oh, okay, this all starts to, the perception changes with this hard contrast. So I need to come back to that series. I quite like that series. Never seen this work in my life, actually, that Raphael. Interesting. So all too interesting. We have to continue. Speaking of continuing, big day today. Victor Acevedo. We're going to have Pioneer of Digital Art today. Come check it out. Super interesting individual. great artist who has been thinking about digital art for decades. So there's a lot to mine there. We're welcoming him back for the second time because the first was so darn interesting. Looking forward to that. Also afterwards, I need to read this ASAP. Piet Mondrian's Neoplasticism, the General Principles of Plastic Equivalence, and the Gestil Manifesto. We're going to be discussing this today at 11 a.m. Eastern in New York and 5 p.m. here in Europe, CET, Berlin, Central European Time. Comments quickly. I think we only had one here from Pixel Lord. Thank you for the comment. I don't know what this place, inner half of the nervous system, but I like it when you're broadcasting from there. As I said, a very ethereal, misty place, Pixel Lord. Thank you for the comment. Glad you're enjoying things. And also on X, No Hygiene. Great to hear from you. Lips in Black. That was a very interesting one. And again, I completely agree with you. Those were facts. Great to hear, Lips, and great to see you continue to watch. I really appreciate it. Kurt Hustle Collective, thanks for subscribing to the DBO Network. So, of course, the geniuses behind this wonderful, hilarious work here. I went to buy it last night. It was sold out. So I'm happy for the team over there. Anyways, what does it say here? Thanks for subscribing to the DBO Network. And remember, you live on a planet. Much love. Right back at you, my friends. Petro Jose, just in time for my coffee. Awesome. JNK, great to hear from you. And Sulchi World, awesome to hear from you. And also Terry Visual. Huge thanks to Pocobelli for opening Artist Journal with our latest video and stepping back on past works. Truly an honor. Just thrilled that I can start a show with these kinds of works. Also heard from Pinsteak. Interestingly, so the nebulous, what I thought was the Waffles character, but maybe it's not. Hi, Pocobelli. This is Pinsteak. Hi, Pocobelli, and thank you for the wonderful words. Not sure whom the Waffle character is that you mentioned, but sounds like a breakfast maxi, and this account is mostly dinner on trays and flies doing backstrokes in the soup. So the mystery continues with the ever-interesting Waffles character. Perhaps Pinsteak is a friend, but I'm not sure. And it makes you wonder, are there other characters on the blockchain other than Cedar Plank who are also Waffles? Does make you wonder. So thank you for the comment. Love to hear from such a great artist. Also some quotes here. Thank you, Luis Andre Gama. Thank you for the retweet, Kurt Hustle Collective. Kylo Z. Thanks for highlighting Kai 1. Yes, this is AI Flux, trained on my references. So maybe this is, I think that might be a free AI, but I'm not positive on that. I want to find out, though. I need to find some free AIs. Can't thank you for the retweet. This is interesting. So Madeleine Dupont, low prices undermine the value of the work. So we were discussing this work by Funny Guys, who I thought after, I think it's a collector, by the way. And as I've been saying, collectors love rodeo. Right, but it's the question is really for the artists, especially in the long term, how good of it is it of a platform to sell work for 30 cents and get 17 cents? The platform takes half, as we're going to see. The world will only care about your ultra scarce digital artworks when digital ownership is abundant. And so Madeleine Dupont replying, low prices undermine the value of the work. Artists are limited by the platform and pricing. Endless spamming of works and numerous copies also don't help the artists in the long run. Rodeo is fast food in the art world, buy and forget. And generally, it's hard to disagree with the general sentiment here that ultimately, again, it's like artists being rewarded for work is financially is crucial for artists to keep making work, I would argue. If you completely remove the financial incentive, would we have as dynamic and as exciting of an art scene over here? I think that's the reason why we have a dynamic and super interesting, incredibly exciting art scene. So it's kind of interesting. So I agree, Madeline, and thanks for the comment. Speech. Okay, so Macbeth. Right, so I brought this up yesterday, and I was like, I think I got the line... I kind of got the line right. Told by an idiot, full of sound and fury signifying nothing. This is Macbeth. This is one of the most famous speeches in Shakespeare. I thought I'd read it here quickly, since there are people that are probably English as a second language, have never read Shakespeare maybe as a result, or very little. And this is a pretty powerful, incredibly dark, and I'd say fairly accessible speech here by Macbeth. I think it's kind of at the peak of the tragic, of the pathos, and everything in Macbeth, of the tragedy. Tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. You got to love the comma here, too. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day, to the last syllable of recorded time. To the last syllable of recorded time. All our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Wonderfully dark Shakespeare. And you see the timelessness of Shakespeare, and frankly, pretty accessible, I would argue. You get some difficult words here. Creeps in the petty pace. I think we know what pace is, most of us. It's the last syllable of recorded time. I mean, beautiful. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Even this tomorrow and repetition, right? So powerful work. Thought we'd just kind of correct on that. Here is Camille Paglia.
Absolute delusion.
Kind of a rant. I don't know if it's new. I don't know if it's a new. She's pretty reclusive, Camille Paglia. But let's see what she says here. It's kind of made me proud to be Italian. It kind of reminds me of like the Italian passion here.
Killed the avant-garde.
Pop art killed the avant-garde.
Continues. It's an absolute delusion of the contemporary art world, which feels that it must attack, challenge, the simplistic beliefs of the hoi polloi. From the moment, Andy Warhol went through and embraced the popular media, instead of having the opposition to it, the serious arts that had, that was the end of oppositional art, So we have been going on now for 50 years. The postmodernism and academia is hand in hand with the stupidity and infantilism that masquerades as important art at galleries everywhere. This incredible, mechanism of contemporary art, pushing things that are so hopelessly derivative, and with this idea that once again that the art world somehow has a superior view of reality. Pop art killed the avant-garde. The idea.
So massive generalizations, right? And sometimes I think, a little bit unfair to a lot of contemporary artists here. And, painting with a broad brush, but overall, I think she's kind of speaking passionately, the elephant in the room for the last 30 years, like just really kind of put it this way. It's easy to say she's being harsh, but then waste, many evenings of your life like I have at art shows that are ridiculous, right? So anyways, I thought came across this. Nice to remind ourselves and to hear this voice, this voice in the wilderness here of Camille Paglia, controversial personality. Toddy Eath, responding to Santiago, also known as Time, it's not crazy to think we were maybe used by Zora. If anyone has a different view, I'm happy to discuss. It kind of does feel that way, doesn't it? A little bit. Let's look. Toddy.eth. Every micro-minting platform relies on using its users. As NFT artists explode in number, the average price naturally goes down. So platforms figured out the best way forward is to speed this process up by forcing prices lower, but also guaranteeing a larger cut for themselves, 50%. So I'm not sure if they kind of purposefully said, let's speed this up, this process and I'm not even sure. I think good art will gain value. Just over, no matter how many artists are out there. There are thousands of, people who have made NFTs in the past, maybe not as many as there were, in 2021. But in some respects, the price has gone up for certain artists. So you look at Die with the Most Likes, even Waffles is doing pretty good. Dribble Waffle, maybe Pinstake. Pinstake just made 500 Tezos, on a 1 of 1 there, which is pretty good. It's kind of interesting, but that all being said, I would say point taken, that ultimately, it's not helping the artists, and so you're only minting for 30 cents as a collector, and then the platform takes 50%. So then it's like you're making, 17 cents or whatever it is. It's kind of interesting. And here's Zora. I mean, I was kind of surprised to see. I wanted to see the platform. I couldn't do it without logging in. I found the login. What was it? It was like, let me see. I think I had tried to do Pocobelli.eth. Was I able? Yeah, I was. But then yeah. Anyway, so this is the home page. It's something like, it's time for you to log in, and I thought this was the home page. Here it is. Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen here, but kind of interesting. Look, kind of similar to this 5X, isn't it? The font, interestingly. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Zora. I tried to look at Dune. Dune Analytics is too confusing for me. I was just like, just give me what Zora is doing. It was too complicated. Kayvon. The feedback on notifications is heard loud and clear. We'll be shipping changes this week. Full transparency, we had no idea the secondary would grow this active this quickly. And actually, I was commenting on that. They were probably surprised at what happened. There's been over 25,000 secondary sales to date, and it continues to grow, so we have a bit of a disparity. Because that's probably right. And when Dune Analytics, we saw like 3 or 4 days ago, had something like $400 of secondary sales, which seemed too low. So anyways, but interesting point here. It's crazy. So you get all these offers, and then they're already accepted before you can do anything. So I guess that's maybe part of the issue. Interestingly, NFT Biker running some tests, orange equal offer accepted by bots. So we saw this with Zora as well. Remember when, I think it was is it Jake, the Zora founder, was saying bots are users too, or something like this, right? And so we're seeing bots here. Now, that may have nothing to do with rodeo. That could be the crypto culture, the speculating crypto culture going in and going, oh, 5x, 10x. Let's put in bots so that we beat everybody on all of the, basically going wherever the liquidity is and then going, okay, let's try and extract as much as we can with our bots. Again, part of the problem from the rest of the world's perspective with the crypto scene is, let's say you are a so-called normie or someone coming in and going, hey, I'd like to buy some art. Maybe I'll make some money, and then you're fighting with these bots, right? So it's just kind of a turnoff, right? So who knows? Running some tests, orange equal offer accepted by bots. Also, medico.btc, someone mentioned 500x offers being sniped so quickly they don't even end up on the notifications. Is this even possible? Definitely possible, appears likely. Offer history will reveal all once implemented, interestingly. So interesting. So the big question, the open question with rodeo is once the crypto speculation disappears, as it kind of always does, what will remain? Will the artist still be getting, the $30 or the $20? Like, what will remain? And so or will the, liquidity stay? But I've never seen that in crypto. In anything for too long. It always seems to move around, and now the liquidity seems to have come here. So it'll be interesting to see. Open question. Time, also known as Santiago, another comment here. I think minting on Tezos is better for building long-term value than to mint on any L2. Interesting point. It's put it this way. I'm not eager to mint on L2s. It's not the top priority. I don't even know if I've ever minted on base, to be honest. So I don't think I ever did. It seems like from, at least base will be around, but I guess the open question is, these other smaller L2s, at what point, and put it this way, I could see in the future Tezos being supported. Just because there's so much significant art on it, they're almost going to have to, even if the blockchain somehow dies or there's no liquidity, they're still going to have to somehow, I would argue, support it. All that being said, there's still IPFS, right? So here we are at the dawn of, digital art on the blockchain. These are the issues we're confronted with. Now, Luke 500 is kind of, preaching to the choir for me, is preaching to me here, or I share everything Luke's saying here. Look at this wonderful post in the Artist Journal community. Have a look at this tool. You can inscribe using parent-child, using metadata, and rare sats, which you can buy off Magic Eden, and so on, all for basically free. So this is awesome, because even on Gamma, there's a very long terms and conditions you got to scroll through every time you inscribe a work. So I'm glad this came out before the video, because I would rather do this here, where there's just no terms and conditions. Like, that's what I want. And then you put it on Bitcoin, should be the safest, maybe even safer than IPFS. So thank you, Luke, for posting this. Can't wait to try that out. Maybe I'll just do it live, inscribe live, and see if everything works as it should. Here's Udo, who we saw in the Art of the Millennium show, where we saw Sabato. Remember this work? So here's a physical. Here's a physical of this work by Udo. So of that Buddha, so hilarious. The screen, I mean, how did they do that? That's pretty cool. So interesting, almost custom-made screen. And there is a work I wanted to bring up before this brilliant work by Ed Marola. I think it would be time. Again, I'm on the second time. I closed it because it was... we might have to wait till next episode. We'll just try Santiago here. This is a thing, when you change your name, sometimes there is a price to be paid. Here's time. Okay. Let's go here very quickly. And here, because there's something very interesting I wanted to show, which is this. Today is tomorrow. Pixel art printed and then scanned. Okay, so interesting work here. This is an edition of 85. We'll see if it loads up. It's a little too large, and hopefully, if this crashes my browser, there will be no further attempts, I think. So here, I just want to show you this. So just kind of an interesting situation here. As you see, huge file, but you see, again, pixel art printed and then scanned. So traveling through the mediums here. It looks like it was scanned at very high resolution. Interesting piece from Santiago. Here is Ed Marola, Open Edition, 1 Tezos. Just a wonderful work here. So beautiful open edition here from Ed Marola. I should pick one of these up. Only a Tezos. What a deal. What a beautiful artwork. Huge fan. Even getting audio in there. Nice big pixels. Great color. Just awesome. Do we have any info here? Suzanne Violetta, New Music Improv, Sound and Pixel. Edition of 107 so far. Still available for another day. So this is going for a Tezos. There's an open edition event from Tezos. This one, I wondered if Yuri J put this open edition at 30 Tezos as a kind of commentary. Rather than 30 cents, how about you guys pay 30 Tezos for my art, and 10 minted so far. Waterside Picnic. So pretty hilarious, beautiful artwork as usual here. The outlines of our lives, as I like to say here. Beautiful work. There's a chair in the river and kind of looking like a campsite here. And all sorts of different effects. Look at that, even just the ground. And then these interesting kind of effects on the car and everything. Is that a picnic table? Not sure. Maybe a hammock. I don't know. Somewhere to sleep. Beautiful table, though. So just beautiful work here from Yuri J. Waterside Picnic, Open Edition. And this is an important point, because I think some people were minting for 30 Tez cents. Like the great... Really, in a sense, like, objects should not be competing, in my opinion, with Rodeo on doing low-priced mints. In a sense, the greatness of object is you get money for your work at this point, even though it was always considered cheap. It's not as cheap as 30 or 17 cents. So in a sense, like instead of doing a 30-cent mint, it probably it's a place to get money. That is the attraction. And I think ultimately artists are going to want to be paid for their works. Anyways, beautiful work here by Yuri J. Here's RJ. And we've seen this kind of style that we saw on Rodeo, kind of Waffles-esque. Here, a little different, working it into the pixel art and putting it into the screen here. So a nice contrast. We see it with the birds and this figure here that was painted, but now is being processed a little bit. So interesting. Interesting work by RJ. Another beautiful work here. I think this might have been minted, but not sure. Love this stuff up here. Nice kind of rough, loose work by RJ. Here's Scamra, AI as well. AI and, different sort of processing, stable diffusion. Stunning color. The violet and yellow, kind of mustard yellow here, and even that navy blue and the orange, stunning. I wonder if the AI is doing the color too. I mean, that is incredible. Gozo, edition of 20, and this is also on Object, and I think most of these are sold. As you see, again, AI, what is it, animated digital collage. And there's AI in there too, as we see SD materials. So here, this is three left at 20 Tezos. So bringing in, 17 times 20, 340 Tezos, that's close to $500. Pretty good, or 400 and some. Continuing on, another nice piece, Juana Pedro. There is no link, so just showing it here. Sheeper, another beautiful work by Juana Pedro, bit on a roll over there. Groove Street. Thrilled to see Groove Street again. My first open edition, this one going for 35 cents. And here you go with one of these kind of interesting, almost like an inflatable dinosaur here. And of course, the trademark frames. Here's another one. I picked one of these up for a Tezos. What is going on, man? Move out of the way. So again, what is the name of that super famous video game? I want to call it something. It's based in LA. And so these are often paintings of screenshots of video games, right? So yeah, Grand Theft Auto. Illustrations based on game Grand Theft Auto San Andreas screenshot. Love this. Super interesting artist. Edition of 13. I picked one up and a few others. Awesome. 4 sold. Here's the Myth. Pixel brush on Procreate. Edition of 73. So it's going to be interesting again if Myth can keep the sales here, because $11, again, you have to wonder, what would this get on Tezos is the big question here. Interesting piece. Nice composition up close with the Myth. Here's Fake Studios, aka Jake Studios. What if? Top collector will receive 1 of 1. And so what do we have here? Top collector picking up 33 Absurdity. So putting in $6 or $7 might be a affordable way to get a Jake Studios 1 of 1. And as you see the loading, so interesting way of doing it. So I guess a different 1 of 1. And here's the animation of the loading icon. There's the GIF and pyramids in the background and computers and skulls. Almost again an anthropological scene here from Jake Studios. Here is Burka Bayram, Nosferatu. I think there is a movie coming out right away. I saw the preview. It actually looks awesome. So maybe a homage of sorts. Pretty cool work here. Black and white illustration. I believe Burka Bayram out of Turkey. 236 minted. Pretty good. Here, Holy Mountain. This looks like more like, as you see this, it kind of looks like the Scarlet Letter, or the Salem witch trials. And here you have these almost like goats taking this, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Scarlet Letter, 17th century kind of Puritan figure, seemingly. Interesting outlines at the top, filling it in at the bottom. Nice way of creating kind of landscape there. Here's Jake Fried with an amazing illustration here, animation of what looks like a physical GIF, right? It's almost like it's quite complex. You see a hand going through almost like sign language, but then you see a cursor, and then you see blinking eyes, almost overwhelming. This work by John, 1,100 mints, so bringing in almost $200. That is impressive. Abstract Window 13, although John will bring in like close to 1,000, I think, on Tezos, interestingly. But I guess maybe it's all of the above. right? Because if you're bringing in $200 here, $1,000 here, again, maybe trying different kinds of works, a little bit more pixelation in the windows. So interesting piece here by John. Nice contrast, attractive work. Here's Burst Sector. And this is actually where the computer crashed because I was trying to bring on some old Burst Sector. Let's go here. Because Burst Sector just put out a work here. What is this? This is an open edition, 30 cents. So 30 Tezos cents here on Objects. So Open Tez, cool pixel artist. These are some of my favorite works by Burst Sector. Another classic, only $3.90 there on Secondary. Love that work. There's another one making fun of the, what is this called? Ecce Homo de Borja, Elias Garcia's. So when someone tried to repair it, Cecilia Jimenez. So pretty hilarious when someone tried to restore that Jesus. And here, Cueva de la Manos, some cool cave art done with pixel style. So some old classics from Burst Sector there. Here's Googly Grix by eBoy. How many minted? 187. So continue to mint well. Nice work there. Another Googly Grix. 213 minted. So eBoy continues to do quite well here. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Screen Crack. Renato Mariani. Cool original work here. Cool pixel art work by Gino Mariani. A nice piece by Uxine on X, playing with the Nokia hands, disconnecting. Beautiful textures here. Almost has a polka feel to those pixels, doesn't it? Those pixels. I have a feeling, I don't know if those are the original Nokia, probably are, but anyways, cool work by Uxine. Murakita. Now, let me just get to Murakit. I think. And so this is the small Murakit account, Murakita, I guess. So this is on Rodeo. Cool work here. Awesome artist. Only 9 minted so far. 5 hours left. So let's see if Murakit comes back. Estelle, maybe it doesn't matter. Again, maybe it's just a place to put certain kinds of works. Estelle, BBS1 Babies. My first rodeo is a homage to the first art scene to prosper on virtual lands. Image made with ANSI, and watch BBS doc on YouTube to know more. And 152 minted so far, so cool pixel artwork. Interesting. So kind of a smaller work here. And interesting, these kind of 2x1 pixels, also kind of vertical pixels, pixel ratio. Here's a cool work by Ugo Digi. This almost looks like it should be on chain, but there are quite a few colors here. First rodeo, glitch art. Nice and small. Big fan of small works here, as you can see. And how's that doing? 70 minted so far, 11 hours left, so might do okay. Mason Third, Gunpei Farm 1987, fun work here. Black and white, Nintendo glitch ROM. Cool work here. Kind of abstract glitch ROM. Here's a work by Rick Ostenbrook, posted on X, and as you see here, kind of a landscape-looking work, but pixelated, and brought down to maybe 5 or 6 colors. Very cool. Here is Ex Mortal, The Fire Inside. So again, playing with this multi-panel work here, and interestingly, and doing quite well again, accepting offers at 20. So Ex Mortal continues to do very well here, bringing in, I think, 260 Tezos. Nice work. 8so VHS Stream 0219, so just a still from 8so, looks like landscape. Glitch Beach, this is Ocote. Interesting. So playing with glitch and AI. So interesting. It's almost like you tell the AI to make a glitch work, a video landscape glitch work. Glitched Beach, edition of 1, 7 Tezos, still available. Here's Renki, Dojima. So going back to black and white here, or grays, maybe a touch of blue in there. Cool kind of shape-shifting distortion. Here's Parsamosta game one more time. CGI, 6,000, so huge file. This is on Instagram. Interesting piece. Here, doing quite well, 256 likes, and you saw the You saw the sketch, interestingly, beforehand. Here's White Solitude with some AI artworks, unspoken words, beautiful kind of painterly brushwork here. Nice colors as well, almost like a Edward Hopper type situation. Here's another one, Secret Shared in Shadows by White Solitude. And again, you see that texture. And there is a signature, again, AI artwork. Edition of 5 for 10 Tezos. And here's one more, Solitary Sips. This is 50 Tezos, and this is an edition of 1. So again, nice painterly AI artworks. And here's No Hygiene. Just continuing to dazzle with weirdness here. I think it's an angel because it has wings. Decide to take a picture. I can't stop laughing. So a little obscure. Here is the angel with wings. Here's the meat. Just combining everything. The madness continues. Tukes. Oh, the Day of the Integrator. And work on Rodeo. How's Tukes doing on Rodeo? Let's see. 200. Doing quite well. AI art on Rodeo. And let's just see. So having put a few works there. And as you can see. Also, what do we have? Some physicals here as we wrap up. Bobichik Matiha. This is The Beast. This is 2020. Oil, acrylic, and charcoal on unprimed canvas. Maybe that's part of the secret. Unprimed canvas. Very nice piece here. Here is Ochihai Shohei, I believe out of Japan, doing a necklace, drawing Jacob & Co. Nerd Feral Pendant Chain. So cool drawing here. Here's Jonathan Wolf, Fighting Artist Block. Just doing what looks like almost a user interface of sorts here. So cool work there. Here is Eric Foss from It's Not Gallery. Minimal looking work, but pretty cool drawing. And that's your show, my friends. Thank you for joining me. Hope to see you with Victor Acevedo today at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 3:30 in Europe. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, take care.